Hey, good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? Everyone doing well? Good. Well, it's great to be back at the Foundry, and particularly to follow such a great company like Spotify for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I guess Spotify and Zalando would probably be two of the most successful startups in Europe over the last 10 years. Secondly, because actually at Zalando, we like to talk about ourselves sometimes as the Spotify of fashion. And I'm imagining Spotify don't talk about themselves as a Zalando fashion, but maybe one day they will when we talk about our machine learning. Spotify also have really pioneered this idea of personalization, machine learning. They kind of find that perfect song for you, right, at the perfect moment. That's also what we do at Zalando. So Zalando, we're about fashion. I am the VP of Engineering for our information platforms. And my team, we're about 200 of us, half of us here in Dublin, half in Berlin. Our kind of mission is to try to find that right product for the right customer at the right moment. And we do that through a number of different ways, through search, through browse, through personalization, through recommendations, and also by building the customer and the product platforms that power these kind of machine learning algorithms. It's also a great pleasure to be back here at Google. I actually spent 8 years of my career at Google. A third of that was in the ads business, helping to figure out the best way to sell our products to advertisers. Another third of it was working with big data and machine learning. And because this is Google, the other third was in Silicon Valley, working in our research lab, trying to figure out how to fly drones to people's houses to deliver food. So, but I joined Zalando about a year ago, and I want to tell you a little bit about the company, just in case you don't know who we are. First of all, we are the online destination for fashion. Our mission is to be the starting point of fashion in Europe for all consumers. And we do that by two ways. First of all, we're a retailer. We buy our own products and we sell them. But increasingly, we're becoming a marketplace where we're trying to connect brands and customers through our platform. And we provide all of the marketing, all of the fulfillment, logistics, returns, payments, all the different things that brands could possibly want to bring their business onto a digital platform. So the question is what does this platform offer? Well, first of all, we have about 25 million active customers across 17 countries, including Ireland, which we launched this year. If you want to go and buy in Ireland now, you can. So obviously, brands want to get access to these customers. And we also have over 100 million orders every single year. Additionally, customers want to get on our platform because we have 3,000 brands who are offering over 300,000 products. So we really are creating this online starting point destination for both customers and brands to reach customers. Our revenue is about $5.5 billion, and we're growing at over 20% a year. Additionally, for brands, we're trying to create this curated shopping experience. So we onboard brands as partners, and we buy products in ourselves. We also have a personal styling service. We also have a service where you can get highly discounted end-of-season products. And we also have services where you can sell back clothes to Zalando. So we're figuring out all the different ways in which customers and brands would possibly want to contribute to the fashion industry. As you can see here, we have a pretty big footprint across Europe, and in particular in Central Europe. In terms of Germany, France, Italy, these would be some of our biggest markets. What I'm going to do now is hand you over to two of my colleagues who are going to talk to you about the kind of secret success that we found in terms of kind of converting users on our platform. It's relatively simple to describe. In order to really serve customers very well, you have to know two things. You have to know your products extremely well. So we have over 300,000 different products, and we spend a huge amount of time onboarding these products with a huge amount of attributes and information. So you can imagine if all these products were in an offline retail store, it would be the size of a football stadium. It would be very overwhelming to walk into a football stadium filled with racks of clothes. So the first thing is, we're this personal shopper. We understand everything where all the clothes are in the store. So the second thing we have to do is we have to understand our customers extremely well. So we take everything that we know about our products and we figure out what our customers like. And then we can play this kind of personal shopping role where when they come to our site, they don't feel overwhelmed, but instead they feel like the shop is this kind of personal hand-picked store they've walked into with all of their favorite brands at their favorite prices in the sizes that they wear. So we're now going to talk about how we use machine learning and data to be able to do that. So I'm going to hand over to Phil, who's going to walk you through our product understanding.
Thanks very much. Hi, everybody. So product understanding. So I'm working as a data scientist in Zalando, and I spend a lot of my time sort of focusing on products. We're gone. We're missing a slide. Oh, dear. OK. Right, what was I going to talk about? Yes. The slide that I was missing was basically every e-commerce company has to present the products to the consumer at some stage. And Zalando, like any e-commerce company, will present them sort of kind of in grid format. So basically, we'll have, if you're looking for a pair of sneakers, we will present them page by page. Now, Zalando has probably at any one given time, maybe 40, 50,000 pairs of sneakers. And what the guys at Google will tell you is the same as what we will tell you, is that people generally only click on the first few things. So the missing slide, the mystery slide, which isn't here anymore, basically shows that for the first row, you get a lot of clicks. And then the further you go down, the less clicks you got. And this is important in terms of conversions, because what you really want to make sure is that the things that are going to the top of your carousels are things that are really relevant to people. And relevant kind of has got three different strands. So the context has to be correct. So why is the person going there? What are they looking for? You also need to find out about the customer. So the customer information is really important. What do they like? What do they not like? Do they follow trends? Do they not? And then you also need to know your products really well. And all three of these things combine to be able to get really relevant products at the very top of your offerings. So we use personas, as Amy was discussing before, but we use them kind of very generically. So the personas are kind of set out about how people, what sort of relationship they have with fashion, how they talk about it, how they feel about it when they talk about it, what type of dog do they have, and so forth. But so an example of this would be this type of people who really only go to fashion stores to clothe themselves. They don't particularly care. They just want to get themselves clothed so they're not arrested on the way home. There's people like me who buy the same thing again and again and kind of get really frustrated when the thing that you used to buy is no longer in the store and you just want the most similar thing that you can get after that. And then there's more people like kind of like Estelle, and the personality of Estelle is slightly different in terms of generally very fashion aware, lots of fashion knowledge, talks about fashion with a lot of passion, and knows exactly what she wants when she's going to the website. So why is this important? I think the real reason is that people speak about fashion very differently. And you have to be able to understand the products in order to be able to deliver them to the right customers at the right time. So let's say, for example, with Estelle, she's looking for a particular dress. So, we'll talk about that in a second, but she knows exactly what style, pattern, and fit she has in mind. But Zalando has 20,000 dresses in Ireland at the moment. I think it's even more in Germany, probably up to 30 or 40,000 at any given time. And they're all varieties of different styles, cuts, colors, lengths, and all different types of features. So which one of these products do we want to show Estelle and raise that to the top so that you'll click on it and interact with it and potentially purchase it? What we do is when we onboard products, we include a lot of different product information. In terms of washing instructions, correct fit, some sort of style information. But we don't include all different types of descriptions of all different types of products and all the different languages that people speak about fashion. So for example, I took this dress here and I gave it to Amy, who's one of our fashion experts in Dublin. And I asked her to describe it while I typed. So I was typing while she was describing it. And she came up with all these type of words within probably 2-3 minutes. Very few of these are in the product attributes we have. And what we have to be able to do is bridge that gap so that when customers are asking for very specific things, we can deliver it and we understand what they're talking about. And to do that, you have to understand your product really, really well. So let's go back to Estelle. So let's say, for example, in this case, Estelle is looking for a short striped dress with ruffles. How do we actually deliver that up to her? Well, short. So in general, when we onboard products, we can use different types of lengths of dresses. Normally, it's mini, maxi, midi, so forth. But actually, it's a continuous value. And to Estelle, a short dress is probably different to another person's view of a short dress. So for Estelle, it might be below the knee, for example, or it could be calf length, or it could be somewhere in between. It's a continuous value. In order to be able to deliver that and to understand and use the customer information, that the signals that we're getting from Estelle, we have to be able to understand the products as well to link it back. Striped is even more kind of tricky probably than length because it's got so many different dimensions. So if we're talking about striped, are we talking about a single striped? We got pin striped, we got vertical striped, half striped. All this additional information, we really, really have to understand it very, very well to be able to deliver these products. And finally, ruffles. I included ruffles because it's a trend of 2019, seemingly. But the trend is probably from here over there, not there to there. Ruffles are like this loose piece of material towards the bottom. So we have to take into account all that information. And how do we do that? Well, it's very, very difficult to do this manually. If we were doing it manually, we'd have to tag products with a huge amount of information continuously. And to be able to do that in a scalable way whereby there's consistency amongst taggers, they're training them up, it's very, very difficult, especially for a company like ours that are onboarding a couple of thousand products a day. So we use machine learning to do it, deep learning in particular, but sometimes more classical machine learning too. And the advantage of using machine learning is that we can also retrospectively tag things. So we can look at the logs of what people are actually searching for and making sure that we've got the language that represents what people are looking for. And we update our different products as we see fit. An example would be, in fashion very rarely stands still, will be color trends. So color trends will come and go as the season comes in and out. So I think coral potentially is a fashion trend for this year. And what we want to be able to do is not just be able to tag what products have coral, but how much coral do they have. So if someone's coming on and saying, I'd like a coral dress, or I would like a dress with a coral trim, they're two completely different things. And to be able to deliver that to the customer, you have to really understand it. So what we are investing in Zalando is machine learning technology that incorporates more and more different features from fashion. The more we learn, the more sophisticated we are. The more sophisticated we are, the more we can actually deliver the type of products that our customers want and to push those products up to the top echelons of the carousels so that people will actually click and interact with them. This is just an example of what actually can happen. The more customer understanding, product understanding we get, it leads to better customer experience. These are just a few examples of what a machine learning model is able to do at the moment. So it's able to figure out that if someone is going through these dresses at the top, that they're all very, very closely related dresses. And what we can actually do is we can then figure out if someone is on that site and they've been looking at these type of dresses, but they're not in their size, to recommend something that is in their size to them, for example. And we've got it's just showing it works for a variety of different types of clothing articles. The color one, I'm going to just talk about it a little bit again. If someone came on looking for a black and white dress, there's a very kind of distinct difference between if it's in the middle of their 50-50, or is it a black dress with a white trim, or a white trim with a black dress. And all those are different types of queries that you may be asked. And if you're asked it, you need to be able to understand your products to be able to deliver it. And finally, it's not just colors and types of products, but there's also different types of styles, so which can kind of transcend different articles in clothing. And we have to be able to understand those as well to be able to deliver on the customer signals that we're going to be getting. I'm going to hand over to Sergio here, who's going to talk a little bit more about that.
Hi everyone, my name is Sergio. I work as a research engineer for Zalando, doing mostly customer analytics, but don't worry, I'm not going to spend 15 minutes talking about the techniques that you can use to model your customer behavior. I just want to give you some tips about how to use your customer data in order to improve your conversions. So my first tip is utilize all your customer data. So when you start doing personalization or machine learning, you might be tempted about using only your customer-specific behavior. It means, for example, the things that our customers have told us that they like, or the comments that they have written about our products, or actually the NPS surveys that they have filled about us. But this kind of behavior is actually not enough in order to fully understand our customers and understand what they are trying to achieve from us. We also need to use the customer implicit behavior. This is basically how our customers are using our apps and our webs, what kind of clicks they are doing, which products they are browsing, which categories they browse, which kind of filters they use when they browse. So using all this information, we will be able to understand who our customers are and what they are trying to achieve from us when they are using our apps or our webs. So if you want to maximize the potential of the data, the first of all that you have to do is you have to understand and be able to capture your customer actions and your data. You have to be able to tell from your data sources when the customers are doing clicks, when they are using filters, when they are doing category views. Secondly, you have to feed all this data in the machine learning models that Phil was talking about them. You have to let the models actually come up with the best combination of implicit behavior and explicit feedback in order to optimize your KPIs. Also, you have to define the KPIs that you want to optimize with your machine learning models. You have to define those KPIs and design A/B test that you can test once that you deliver your models in production, and you can actually tell if the model that you have delivered is actually optimizing your KPI or not. The challenges that you are going to face while doing this is, first of all, your data volume. Just imagine your apps during Black Friday or your webs. You're going to have hundreds of thousands of customers, if not millions, all of them doing clicks, taking actions, putting things on your carts, and probably going to do the checkout on the very last minute before the end of the day. So you have to actually be able to handle all these data volumes and at the same time generate recommendations for your customers. Secondly, you need that feedback loop in place. This is because you need to understand how your machine learners are working on your web or your apps. Without this information, you won't be able to optimize further your models. And third, you have to be aware that you are dealing with customer data. So you have to design your systems to be compliant with any kind of data regulation or GDPR from the very first day. The second tip is be cross-device. And as you all know, our customers are already expecting us to be cross-device. As they browse online, for example, and they put something on their cart, they're expecting those items to be on their cart as well if they use the app. But when we are talking about cross-device, being cross-device, talking about customer data, we are also talking about being able to collect data from our customers, no matter the device that they are using, no matter if they are on the web or in the app or they are using their tablets. And using all this information, we will be able to put them into our machine learning models and optimize our customer experience, no matter what device they are using. The challenges that you are going to face if you want to be fully cross-device is, first of all, you will need to identify your customers across devices. As you probably know, not all the customers browse when they are logged in, so you will need a mechanism to identify who is browsing your web or who is using your app. You can use, for example, a cross-device graph in order to identify your customers. This is basically so that the more data that we have about our customers, the better the recommendations that we are going to have about them. You also have to be aware the behavior of the customers is going to be different on the web and on the app. So you have to let your machine learning models optimize for the device that the customers are using. My third tip is be real-time. The reason why you want to be real-time is because the customer intent is volatile. The thing that you're trying to achieve when you go online on the web or you start using an app might change very fast, might change from one session to the other. So you want to fulfill the needs of the customer as they are browsing online, because if they go, they might not come back to your app. For example, in e-commerce, the average customer session is about 3 minutes and 24 seconds, and the customer usually takes 5 page views. So it means that during this time, you have to be able to understand what the customer is trying to achieve on your web or your app. You have to be able to generate meaningful predictions for them, and you have to call for action to the customers based on the predictions that you have computed as they are browsing. And moreover, the more information that you have from your customer, the more accurate that your predictions are going to be. So probably you won't be able to predict properly what is the customer intent on the first click. You will have to wait for a little bit of time till you collect more information about the customer before being able to tell what they are trying to do. So just to give you an idea of how important this is called streaming analytics. And the streaming analytics market is growing from 4 billion euro in 2017 to 21 billion in 2023. So it's a huge growth. And this is basically driven by two factors. One is the IoT devices. That is basically your smartwatches, your cameras, your traffic cameras. That is basically streaming data online all the time. And you need to process all that data as it comes. And the second factor is e-commerce. And this is because we want to be relevant for our customers within the session before they leave. Because as I was saying, they might not ever come back. So just linking together the customer understanding together with what Phil was describing regarding product understanding. Our ultimate goal as an e-commerce site is to be relevant for our customers. We want to be on their hearts when they think about fashion. We want to be their first destination for fashion online. So we want to be relevant for them. In order to do so, we can only do it if we fully understand our assortment, if we have a deeper understanding of the products that we are selling. So we have something like 300,000 products in Zalando. If we don't really understand what is in our warehouses, we won't be able to put those items in front of our customers, and therefore we won't be increasing our conversions. But at the same time, we have to be relevant for the customer at the right time. Before the customer leaves, we have to recommend them the right item that they are browsing for. And this is key, and we have proven that this is key in Zalando in order to optimize our conversions. I think that's it for us. Thank you so much for attending. Do you have any questions?
You want us to do a question or anything?
I think that we have some time for questions. If you have any, we will be happy to answer.
We have time for one question.
There we go. Make it good.
Hi. So if you go one slide back, kind of the scarce. No, that slide.
This one?
No, the next one. The scarce resource here is content.
Yeah.
How do you kind of because for every personalization you need new content, and there's endless combinations here, which is fine for products. But how do you kind of do this for the content part of it?
For the what?
The content part of it.
So basically,
Yeah, I can talk about that. So there's a number of different ways that we're looking at content. So first of all, we've got people who are trying to create that content every day, and that content can be either relatively static or dynamic. And what we are trying to do is to go towards a more algorithmic point of view as well in terms of content. So we're trying to augment the manually created content type with algorithmically created content. And that can come from a variety of different user signals. So a typical example would be, if someone is on a site in a particular color, and we can then show, for example, if it's a red dress, a very specific type of red dress, we can match that with a variety of other content that has got that slicing, which could be a matching pair of shoes in the exact same shade, a dicky bow to match if you're going to a particular wedding dress or so forth. And we're kind of spreading that out to a number of different ways of doing things. So we're looking at having algorithmic content based off of the tags that we're creating for particular products. So that if you've a product that has got, let's say, 50 or 100 tags, what are similar products in the same vein that have got kind of same tags? And to use sort of the signals coming from the customer to drive towards that. Makes sense a little bit.
thank you.
Thanks very much, guys.